What's up, everybody? How are you? It's your boy Bill Forster on the check-in. Real Talk Chronicles. It's been a minute. We're back. You know, due to certain things, I want to make sure I give you good content. I don't want to just come on and talk just to talk. I can chop it up with you all the time, but I do really want to come on and have some good conversation with you. So I always appreciate the support and looking out for us, still supporting us. I want to run down the schedule for you for the remainder of 2022. Can you believe that? This year is almost over. Unbelievable. So hopefully we will be here Monday the 4th. Monday the 5th with Assemblyman Al Taylor. I will be with you on the 7th. I will come and chop it up with you on the 7th. I will be here on the 12th. Hopefully, Dr. Marilyn Corder could come and give you some tips on how to stay healthy and stay safe during this time of season with flu, COVID, RSV, and all the different things that are out here pertaining to us. So we definitely have to be careful of that. So yeah, so on the 12th, that is let's see, okay, the 5th is Al Taylor. The 12th is Dr. Marilyn Corder, and on Allison, but I'm gonna see if I get Lenny Green to come in and chat day. And that will be the last. The 19th will be the last for 2022, and we'll be back after that in the new year. The 14th will be the last Wednesday for us on this. Talking about the sponsorships. We have our gallery. It's a big time. Malika and her mother are coming out with new calendars. So if you want to give a good any calendars, I think if you saw the calendars that they promote, and they do excellent calendars. This was 2022. They have a whole new calendar. It's great to give people inexpensive gifts, and this is a fabulous gift. You can do, hey Colin, what's going on? Beautiful designs. You can go on the website, Soft Illusions, I think .com or .net, and gifts. They have other items that you can purchase, inexpensive, but that can last a lifetime. With those calendars, each month you can take out that month color and make it a picture. It is a picture. So you just came off of Black Friday, you came off of Cyber Monday, supporting Black business. If you're that conscious and you want to support Malika, you know it, you want to support me. That's my wife, so it's much appreciated. And if you just want something to give people inexpensive gifts that will last a lifetime, you're welcome, Malika. Also, there's Quality Speakers by Reggie Wells. Those are other expensive gifts, inexpensive gift that you can give. Quality speakers. Ingram Taxes. Got to shout out Ingram Taxes. They are doing their thing. If you need, tell you all the time, if you ever need taxes, reach out to Ingram Taxes. Also, for those that know, of course, I'm a martial artist. Been in martial arts now 36 years, and a former law enforcement detective. People ask me all the time, do you do seminars or do you do things on how to protect? I do have something that I call self-defense awareness. I might have to do that online where I could talk to people, because I want to help people stay safe in this high climate of crime. But a martial arts sister, of course, we support the Daily Arts of Survival magazine, the number one magazine, and they are uh, supporters of Real Talk Chronicles. So we support each other. They are a sponsor of Real Talk Chronicles. With that being said, this Saturday at 7 p.m., we have an online knife seminar held by Grandmaster Odell Russell. I don't know if I'll be able to put this link in here, but what I will be doing, if anybody wants this link, she's a grandmaster, a female. She might give a lot of ladies tips on how to protect them, stuff like that. What's up, James? How are you? Give ladies or men tips on how to protect themselves. You know, being a martial artist and a law enforcement, it's like a double-edged sword. And sometimes you have to have people outside of different avenues that can give you some advice on how to protect yourself. You just don't have a detective. I mean, yeah, I know what the predator is looking for, and I know it from a martial arts standpoint, and I also know it. But here you have another lady, a grandmaster, a female, and she wants to be able to protect herself and help the ladies protect themselves. So, for Daily Arts of Survival, if anybody wants that link, inbox me, text me, and I will make sure you get it. And that way, to my knowledge, a link for anybody that wants to go online and check out that seminar. And I will make sure you get that. That's Grandmaster Odell Russell, and that's the Daily Arts of Survival magazine. She's affiliated with that, just as I am. And without that further ado, I think Melba Wilson, Leon Ellis, Chocolat. I'm going to talk about some things, but first and foremost, I'm glad to see my guys in the building. I got my man Richard Williams in the building. What's up, brother Rich? How are you, brother?
Oh, man, you know my story. I woke up this morning with the two C's, chance and a choice.
Good. And then I got my other brother. He might as well be a co-host. I have to make sure he's here all the time. I got my brother Amir Sealy in the building. What's up, Amir?
Hey, how you gentlemen doing this evening? I'm good, man. It's Wednesday, baby. We halfway through the week, so let's make it do what it do.
Yeah, it's almost over. Can you believe that? And tomorrow's December.
Yeah.
No, we were just outside the brunch party having a good time, man. Also, for those that don't know, we will still be doing the brunch all through the rest of the winter. So the next one is December 17th, I think it is. No, December 17th. So with that being said and saying all of that, I want to jump right into some things because I don't want to keep these brothers on too long. So I'm so glad that they're here, able to spend some time with me. But I want to ask these gentlemen a very important question. We all hate traffic agents. I don't know if everybody's out there saw this. There was a traffic agent in the Philadelphia area that I think we all cursed out a traffic agent. Give them the bird. I hate you. Can't stand you. Fuss and cuss. Want to bust them in their fronts. All that. But they're civil servants. This person takes it upon themselves to go and kill him. They tried to kill him. He's still alive. Thank God that the traffic agent is still alive. My question to the panel, these brothers, and anybody, I've always extended the olive branch. Anybody ever wants to chime in, just send me a link or send me a question or inbox me, text me. I'll get you the link. You can come in and express yourself. Do you think there should be a stricter penalty for any tries to hurt a civil servant? And I'll start with you, Rich, and then I'll bring it to you, Amir. Go ahead, Rich.
Can you repeat that question again? Do I think that's what?
Should be a severe penalties for anybody that attacks a civil servant. somebody like a traffic agent that's doing a job, a bus driver, anybody that's working in the capacity of a civil servant, and that's their job. There's jobs out there that are ugly, but I'm saying a person like that doesn't have a firearm, a bus driver, a traffic agent, they fall under
Like a
the MIP
civilian. Like a civilian.
umbrella. Transit. Yes,
Like
absolutely.
a civilian. No,
Yes,
I think that
yes,
anybody
yes,
that commits
absolutely.
a crime should be prosecuted to the fullest, civil servant or not. I mean, now you're talking about a person that writes tickets or a person that drives a bus. The only civil servant that I think that should be treated different as far as being violated for doing their job is, I think that if a police officer gets assaulted or killed or whatever in the line of his duty, he's that's an attack on not just that officer, that's an attack on justice, right? But the reverse
Right.
is true too. If you are a police officer and you decide that you want to be a criminal now while you're on duty, you should get a worse penalty than the average citizen.
Okay.
So my
All
thing
right.
is, we need to have it both ways. Because if you want this preferential treatment because you're operating in the line of your job, and then in the line of your job you inflict damage on someone else, whether it's financial or whatever, taking uh, uh, control of your ability to cause harm to a person because you're in a particular seat, then that justice should be turned on you just as uneven as it would the other way.
Mm, okay.
So
Thank you.
that's my opinion on it. Because to me, you
Absolutely.
can't have it both ways. You can't say, "Oh, I want to be treated special if somebody violates me." But if I'm acting in the capacity of my job and use the power of my job against you, I should be able to get crazy time for doing that.
Got you. Amir?
Um, well, I don't know if there should be a more severe punishment if a civil servant is attacked. I think that to the point that was made by Richard, first and foremost, a civil servant job is like any other job. It's a job. It's not necessarily who you are. It shouldn't define you, and things of that nature and that magnitude. And I know sometimes, unfortunately, because it doesn't only, happen in civil servant, it happens in corporate America too. People think or feel they're defined by whatever their job is. So, I'm a director or I'm, VP of this or whatever. And they tend to buy into that much more so than buying into the simple fact or the mere fact that you're a human being first. That just happens to be a job that you do as part of, your human experience.
Mm-hmm.
With that having been said, I think it's just unfortunate that, we are going to forever have instances probably where civil servants may find themselves in challenging situations, but usually that's not necessarily because of the civil servant. A lot of times it's because of the person themselves. In the particular case, that you're speaking of, I don't know all the particulars of it, and I haven't even seen the video, but I would probably like to believe that that person was having some sort of bad day or having, some other sort of interaction or reaction as to why, he unraveled the way that he did, against somebody who only was writing him a ticket or whatever the case may be. It's a ticket. It's not
Right.
the end of your life. It's not, you understand what I'm saying? He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't handcuffing the guy and trying to take him to jail. It's a ticket. You can go to the courts and fight it. You can, there's a number of other things that you could do as opposed to taking it to a violent situation where you do bodily harm to somebody, but just as, you shared doing their job. That just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You said something, both of you guys said something that makes a lot of sense. A lot of people are defined by their jobs, but do you get a preferential treatment because of your job? Now, the bottom line is, I think a lot of times people have lobbied for civil servants to get a best protected because they are servants to the city and the public. But like you guys just articulated, it is just a job. Now, Rich, you said something too that was very important. That you said, you feel if you disrespect law enforcement, the penalty should be harsh. But you also said if the law enforcement violates their oath, that their penalty should be hard too. So I really don't have a problem with that, because if you want to be held above the law, quote unquote, then you carry yourself above the law. You know what I'm saying? And I know as an African American man how hard it was, the walls that would put up in front of me to stop me from getting on law enforcement. And if I wasn't a person who did my due diligence and was never a quitter, a fighter, I wouldn't be a law enforcement person now. It might have propelled me to go to law school or finish my, my degrees in psychology and law and stuff like that. I might have still been able to affect change in some way, somehow. But I wouldn't have been able to talk from this standpoint, because we understand the powers that be and how they try to do things. Speaking of powers, the mayor, I'll ask you guys this question. The mayor right now has just implemented something. He's going to try to just pick up the homeless people off the street. And unwanted or not, they're going to take them and he's prioritizing mental health. Do you agree with that, or you disagree with that? I'll start with you, Amir.
Well, first off, I do think that, unfortunately, we do have a homeless problem. Excuse me. The real challenge, though, is, to your point, trying to figure out, who may have real mental issues versus those who may be doing whatever they're doing as a way to skirt the system. I happen to, encounter homeless people and, things of that magnitude quite often, because I still, ride our New York City transit system. And I'm always amazed that, you might get somebody who seemingly has some mental challenges or whatever, and they get on the train and they might scream at one person and, do some things that seem odd. And then they get to you, and based off of your facial expression, based off of your energy, they go, you know what, I'm going to just keep it pushing and go on to the next person.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that this person does or does not have mental issues? No, that's not what that means. But what I'm saying is, it's going to be interesting to see how, or whatever processes they come up with in order to figure that out, because that's going to be the real challenge. There may be people who are just homeless because, unfortunately, they actually do work, but they may or may not be making enough money to afford a room or to, afford an apartment. So hang out on the streets and get to work early enough to shower and switch up and, handle my business as, as my responsibilities go, as, where my job is concerned. And then when I get off, it's back to that kind of ideology or lifestyle, just in order to, try to make it, you know what I mean? So this should be interesting.
Right. Rich?
This conversation is interesting in a sense, because this, sometimes I think about shit like this, and I think about the South and the towns in the South. Do they have homeless issues? And I'm quite sure they do. But people that live in the woods and down south, they create their own homes. They'll go in the woods and chop shit up and make a shanty or whatever, and that's where they're living at. And they don't want to have anything to do with mainstream society, TVs, radios. They don't want none of that shit. They'd rather just live off the land and want you to leave them the fuck alone. Now, in the city, and I've dealt with cases where we had to go address quote unquote homeless people. And one individual in particular, I'm not going to call his name, but anybody that's from that neighborhood knows, on 145th Street between 7th and Lenox, right next to Dunkin' Donuts, there was a brother that had an abandoned car there. He lived inside that car.
Yeah, absolutely.
He had a pit bull as a pet that lived inside that Audi, right? And he was standing in front of Dunkin' Donuts panhandling, and he was a little crazy, according to the neighborhood, because he was aggressive with his panhandling. He wasn't the guy that asked you for no money, like, yo, can you please help? He wait for you to spot something and say, yo, man, can I get that? you know, like he was like trying to house you,
Yeah.
But he also would wash cars out in front of Dunkin' Donuts. You know, he would talk like he had sense sometimes, but he would do stuff that homeless people do. He would defecate outside. He would go on the side of Dunkin' Donuts and do that. So they called from across the street because, they got street corner resources over there, So they were like, yo, let's try to get
Right.
this guy some services. So I walked that walk with them. And I knew a developer that had some houses, some apartments, so to speak.
Hmm.
So I reached out to
Right.
him to see if he would be willing to house this person, in a homeless shelter. I mean, in an apartment, right? Because the
Hmm.
guy wanted an apartment that he could take his dog to. I swung that whole deal for him. Turned around, he didn't even want it because, number one, he was getting a check from the city, right, for his disability.
Right.
He was supposed to be on medication for whatever his affliction was, but he would drink and smoke weed instead of take the medicine,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
He didn't consider himself homeless. We did because
Right.
he had a car that he was living in. And for me to get him that apartment, whatever money they were giving him in that check, some parts of that had to go to that apartment.
Mm.
So he didn't want none of his money going to an apartment because we thought he needed one.
Wow.
He said, I got my crib right here, and that's where I want to stay.
Wow.
Now, you got a lot of people that when you talk homeless to them, they're not homeless.
Right. 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 Right.
They're living where they want to live. So what their existence makes you uncomfortable, they feel like they got a right to live the kind of life they want to live. And
Yeah.
we might say, yo, that shit is crazy because you don't have running water. You can't get up and go to your own bathroom or lock your own door. You know, they
You
don't
know,
think like that. And
and let me
because they
let me
don't
just
think like
interject for a
that,
minute.
we think they're crazy.
Let me just interject for a second, Rich. A lot of times, for these people that you're so eloquently expressing and articulating, they don't want to go to a shelter because the shelter is just worse off than being on the street by themselves. So I've heard a lot of things in horror stories with the shelters. So I wanted to make sure that that was a point too, because like you said, that person, and we all know, anybody from Harlem knows that person that you're talking about. He didn't consider himself homeless. He was out there all the time in front of Dunkin' Donuts, had his dog, had that car. The car was an eyesore because it was covered and stuff like that. But he sat in that car, and that was his home. Yeah, go ahead. You can continue, brother.
And he and
I
he knew how
apologize.
to
I just
play the
wanted to.
system. But he
Right,
knew how
right,
to play
right,
the
right.
system to get what he wanted. Now, this guy
Yeah.
wasn't stupid, but he was what we deemed to be crazy and homeless. And
Mm-hmm.
again, he didn't consider
Yeah.
himself homeless because he had a car.
Yeah.
He couldn't
Yeah.
drive it, but he could sleep in that motherfucker. Right? So he would get a check, cash that shit in, go buy him some drugs, flip that in front of Dunkin' Donuts, you know? And
Right.
and
Right.
just his existence was bothering the community.
Yes.
So we deemed him homeless. We deemed him in need of services that he was actually already getting.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just making us uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Now, when you're talking about people that are homeless, that don't want to go to shelters because of the dangers, those generally are families of women with children,
Okay.
right?
All
Because
right.
they go into these shelters and risk maybe getting raped by the dudes in the beds next to them and all of that, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I've never, grace of God, have been homeless, you know? I never fell into that category, but I had to think about in dealing with some of the people that have been homeless. It's easy for us to say they just crazy because they don't want what we want.
Right. Right.
So how can we violate them to get them out of sight?
Yeah.
You
Because
know?
it's because it becomes an eyesore to us instead of trying to solve the problem. I totally
Yeah,
agree with you.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not a problem for them. It's a problem for us.
Right.
right? Now, when you deal with people that are truly looking for homes, looking for a place to live, right? That's a whole nother category.
Right.
Then you talk about people that's just straight crazy trying to do harm to other people, and they're suspect. You don't know whether they gonna push you on the subway or shove you in front of a moving bus or pull a knife out and stab you. We ain't talk to me. We're not talking homeless. We're talking crazy.
Right. Now, hold on
So
for a
how do
second.
we identify them and make the distinction between that and this?
And that's a great segue to what I want to read, and then Amir and Rich, you both can come back and join in on this. So it says that following a string of horrifying subways attack, the Big Apple is dramatically its ability to involuntarily commit mentally ill New Yorkers. City workers can now immediately hospitalize people who refuse, even if they don't pose a clear or present danger to themselves or others. Mayor Adams announced Tuesday. The plan is the latest effort launched by officials in recent months to catapult troubled people living on the streets in the city's mental health safety net system. In severe mental illness cases, if severe mental illness is causing some to be unsheltered and a danger to themselves, we have a moral obligation to help them get the treatment and care they need, Adams said at City Hall. Today, we are embarking on a long-term strategy to help more of those suffering from severe and untreated mental illness find their way to treatment and recovery. What do you think about that, Rich? And then I'll go to you, Amir.
Okay.
No,
Well, I saw that press conference.
Go ahead. No.
I saw that press conference. I saw the press conference on the news with the mayor talking about that. And he even went as far as to mention possible criteria that's determine whether a person is mentally ill that warrants them being arrested or detained, right? And the suggestion was even brought up by him that people take out their cell phones and videotape the behavior of these people acting in such manner, right? As a means to say, hey, look, see what they're doing, because everybody got cell phones now,
Right.
And you call 911, and case in point of the woman who lived on 135th Street, who was actually retired law enforcement, who called the police on her son, who then turned around after they got there. He went in his room and pulled a gun out and shot 2 cops and killed them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, for me, this whole thing isn't something that, oh shit, where did he come from? He's crazy. No, there's a track record from school, from childhood, of behavior of a person that if they didn't start that way, there's a point where it turned that way, and then it has to be tracked and managed from that point. You don't wait till you find somebody that all of a sudden you say, oh, this nigga's crazy. Where did he come from? You know, he came from somewhere. There's a breadcrumbs that led to this guy's behavior, but we closing our eyes to that, you know? So to me, it's best, how do we track?
I want to bring.
How do we track that before it gets to that craziness?
All right, I want to bring Amir in, and then you guys can openly dialogue about that. Go ahead, Amir. I don't want you to lose your thoughts.
No, I think Rich is making some very good points. Again, like I said, this is going to be seemingly in my mind almost along the unfortunate same lines of stop and frisk when that whole ideology or that whole procedure got unleashed, only because you're trying to determine something, like he said, without proper background. So in your mind, you might be saying, this person, like you said, based off of maybe their movements or based off of, certain criteria, it falls under a specific category. But the reality of it all is the person could be playing a role. The three of us are all old enough to remember when that was a saying here in New York City. He's playing a role. So, and we do have a number of people, unfortunately, again, in the city who, as opposed to maybe doing what people might perceive as the norm, or what most people do, which is you get up every day, you go to your 9 to 5, or whatever your situation is, you handle your business, you go home. The walking through the trains, I remember, even when I was in high school, somebody was always selling batteries or something on the train. You come through, you got two AA batteries for $1, and things like that.
Right.
So we've always had those kinds of things in our city per se, as part of the landscape. What has happened though, and I think that this is the bigger issue, and something that the mayor and whoever else may listen to this may want to consider. The homelessness is not the only thing that is people are having to deal with. The other thing that people are having to deal with is having been locked down for almost 2 years. There was no plan put in place to help people transition back into what would be this new norm. So what people are finding is, I got used to being in my house. I got used to being around my kids or my significant other, and so forth and so on. Now you're asking me to leave that safeguard, because it became a safeguard for me, and get back out here amongst people who I don't trust, people who I don't like, and these nefarious things. And because there's no counseling and there's nothing to help people transition back into that, you out there with an afraid mentality. People can sense energy. So for somebody who, to the mayor's point, let's say does have a affinity for odd behavior, they sense the scariness in you. There's the possibility of something happening to you, but that's because they have that ability to sense that kind of energy. So we have to figure out, how do you again get us all to transition back into whatever this new facet or this new way that the world is supposed to be moving now, based off of all of the odd stuff that's happened to us in the last 2 years. And the homeless people are at the top of that list. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very much so. Rich?
Well, again, we have to make the distinction between this whole homeless conversation and people that need services that deal with mental illness, right? To me, they're two different conversations. Now, how do we determine a person has mental illness? What's the criteria for that? Remember the movie Do the Right Thing? Remember Smiley? Walk around, Malcolm, Malcolm.
Yeah.
Now, does Smiley deserve to get thrown into a mental institution? Or can Smiley just go around selling pictures of Malcolm and doing what he does, right?
Yeah.
On a harmless level,
Yeah.
right? But in a strange way, teaching history.
How crazy? Yeah. And
right?
excuse me for using that
But
word.
he would be deemed crazy standing on 125th Street, right?
Yeah.
So do we treat him that way? Or what? How do we handle him? Because all he's doing is making those that don't really like him or understand him feel what? Uncomfortable.
Right.
So we
So let me
dealing with
ask
a
you
lot
question.
of the whole mood is these people are making other people uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Right?
and let me ask you this question. I'll ask both of you this question. That's a great point that you brought up, because you're right. It still goes back to the eyesore. It goes back to, I feel uncomfortable. And it goes back to some saying that, that's so and so. He's harm, like you said, you use a perfect analogy, Malcolm. Like, he's harmless. He's not bothering anybody. Now, to the new person that moves in the neighborhood, or the person, like you said, that becomes the eyesore, because there are people that I'm sure we've all grown up with or known via our neighborhood. And you'd be like, he's all right. He's not bothering anybody. You know what I'm saying? But let a new person, you pick the ethnicity. You know what I'm saying? We can talk about gentrification on that, but trust me, there are certain people that, black, white, no matter what your nationality is, you don't want to see dudes sitting there walking with his bags in front of your building. That is the eyesore. Hey, Cheryl, what's going on? Shout out to everybody that's chiming in on YouTube. Appreciate you all. It's still an eyesore. Now, I'm always, now we talk about eyesores. I've always said I've been a person that I don't want to come down the block after a long day's work and I see five guys standing on the corner and I got to say, excuse me to get down my own damn hill. You know what I'm saying? It's different for me because now, it's OG, yo, what's up, family? But bottom line is if my wife comes down the block, or remember my mother was alive, it would drive me crazy that she would have to ask for, or if they recognize her first, then, oh, yo, excuse me, you know what I'm saying, Miss Forrest or whatever. But that used to irk me. But I'm just trying to make a point in the sense of I saw harmless,
But Bill,
not harmless. Yes, go
is
ahead.
could that behavior you're talking about be considered as crazy? That a
Yeah,
grown ass man was standing around with his pants hanging below his ass,
yeah,
shooting dice, drinking liquor, intimidating the people in the community, right?
yeah, yeah,
Spitting
yeah,
out rap lyrics with headphones in his ears, talking about, yo, suck my dick, da, 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 da. And he's
yeah,
doing all of that while people are going back and forth, coming to work, going home, people walking with their kids, picking them up from school, and these dudes are standing there. But you got Smiley over there talking about Malcolm, Malcolm.
right, 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 right.
You want to lock him up, right? He needs help, but these niggas don't.
Yeah. And that's a great point because and that goes back to what Amir's saying. And Amir, I want you to jump in on this. That goes back to you what you're saying. It says, could this be a new form of stop, question, and frisk? Because right, like Rich said, we've all seen a person that spitting out rap lyrics, and you like, yo, man, you don't need to be talking that damn loud, you damn fool. Or the person like on the phone, like I always thought this was the most asinine shit I've ever seen. A person on the phone, yeah, and that's what I said, and and I don't care. You telling everybody your whole business. Like, shut the hell up, bro. Or lady. Are you
Those are
kidding me?
people that are narcissistic. They're looking for
Yeah, yeah,
attention. They want things to be about them when it's
yeah.
not about them. So they want to bring you into it by saying, yo, listen to me talk to this fool on the other end of this phone about some shit you don't even know what I'm talking about. But yo, ain't I right? Ain't I right, son?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
So
again, you both make brilliant points because I know for a fact, coming up in South Bronx, where I was from, I know we had two people. One was this gentleman named Keith, and the other one was this lady named Pro-Ked Mama, and she's wear Pro-Keds, and they were always oversized, and she
Mhm.
pushed around the shopping cart, but she really was harmless. She didn't bother anybody, whatever. And I think something else that we're also technically dealing with, and we've been dealing with it again, even in our youth, is sometimes some of the people who we see are burnouts, meaning they've worked in high priority jobs that require intense, work,
Yeah,
and you just get burned out. So in getting burned out, they may have, fortunately or unfortunately, also gotten hooked on drugs because that plays a factor or plays a role in some of this. Somebody was supposed to be smoking weed and they got laced with something or whatever. So to your point, Richard, there's so many weird other subcategories that have to be addressed, when it comes to whatever this program is that the mayor is rolling out, because there are all of these other categories that people seemingly are going to be able to fit in. And then you got to, figure that part out before you start, like you said, saying this person needs to go to, Bellevue for psychiatric evaluation and, so forth and so on. So I don't know how they're really going to be able to, justify and or quantify, how they go about, pushing this
I,
protocol.
wa- well, I'm
But
gonna
it's
tell
going to be
you
interesting.
I'm gonna tell you what I
Mhm.
think it is. What I think it is just like uh, when Giuliani broke up the housing police and all the other uh, um, different departments and consolidated them and concentrated all the efforts of law enforcement into Midtown because it's about tourism. It's about keeping people that are coming into the city to spend money comfortable, right? So now they're talking about all of this stuff, but it's to me, I believe it's going to be concentrated more downtown where the
Mm.
tourists come, where these homeless people are setting up by Madison Square Garden and over there on Broadway, where the plays are, and they want to clean that back up and make sure it doesn't go back to the old days, the way 42nd Street was, where it interfered with tourism. So again, I think we're looking over here and trying to fight that battle about some shit over here that you think might be coming in your neighborhood. Trust and believe it's going to really stay in your neighborhood. They're going to start focusing and concentrating on that population that's in Midtown in front of the big wig hotels where the money for tourism is coming in. People that have invested millions of dollars in what they are considering taxes for the city, right? And to me, that's what I think it is. I think it's smoke and mirrors, Now, if they really want to address, to me, this homeless issue, why not partner up with the advocates for homelessness and get involved with them and let them start dictating or guiding this whole turn towards addressing homelessness? Who knows better than the people that are advocating for them, right? Then you got the mental health piece. Those individuals that are in that medical field, they need to have a team of them gathered to have a conversation about how to best treat and service that population. First, by identifying them, right? The harmless ones and the ones that are at risk, and deal with them based on that. Because it's not the people that I see every day that appear to be crazy that I'm afraid of. It's that motherfucker that's the ticking time bomb that you don't have a fucking clue that this bastard just got fired from his job. And he just went to Walmart upstate and bought him a motherfucking AK-47, whatever the fuck he's using, and coming back with a blank look on his face and walks in the room and shoots everybody.
Yeah.
That's the motherfucker that I'm worried about. That's the motherfucker that's able to buy that gun and walk down the street with that shit strapped over his shoulder and walk past cops and they think it's normal because he's a white boy.
Right. And what's so funny, you speaking about that, it's just so funny, the Buffalo shooter that killed all those innocent black people in that store pleaded guilty. Like, he pleaded guilty, like, yeah, guilty. Yeah, I did it. And now he'll be sentenced, I think, coming up. I don't know if it's in January or something like that. It's so funny when you talk about
You know what he's going
like
to do, though, Bill? Bill, you know what this motherfucker going to do? He's going to do some shit straight out of a scene out of a movie where before it's time for him to go to court, he's going to get some peanut butter, the chunky peanut butter with the nuts already in it,
and put
take a handful of that shit and put it in his pants. And when they get ready to sentence him, he going to reach down in there, pull some shit out, and start licking his finger. And the judge going to say, wait a minute, that motherfucker's crazy. We got to evaluate him. Hold off on that sentencing.
Yeah, exactly. And let me ask you a question real quick before I go to the next topic. And shout out to everybody that's watching this. Is Real Talk Chronicles on YouTube. Appreciate you. Death penalty, you agree with it, or no, yes or no, for this for individuals like this, mass shooting, stuff like that? Death penalty, yes or no? Go ahead, Amir.
Wow. I have to say yes off rip. I just have to say yes. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to expound on it because it turns to something else.
Rich?
Bill, we talked about this before.
Right.
If one of my loved ones was in a situation like that, I can't honestly tell you I'd wait for the sentence.
Absolutely.
I'm just being real with you.
And that's what this show is all about. It's real talk. Because first, let me just do me a favor. Give me yes or no, and then we'll open it up for 5 minutes. I'll let you and Amir open it up and have dialogue on it. But just give me a yes or no off your quick emotion.
No, provocative. I think if he can get past me, no, he should do a life sentence.
Okay. All right.
right? Especially
I
if he's
appreciate
not
that.
really
That's
built,
listen.
especially if he's not built for the penitentiary, right? Because you got some
Right, right,
motherfuckers that kill
right.
themselves because they don't even want to do that, you know? Because
Yeah.
to wake up every day and be tortured for the rest of your life, you dying every day, you know?
And what's so funny, fellas?
To
Just
end
like
the
we know, the
motherfucker's life
streets and
quick,
the
you letting them
penitentiary.
off the hook.
Yeah.
You letting them off
Just
the
like we
hook
know,
by
the
killing them.
penitentiary has. Yeah, the penitentiary has changed, just like we know the streets have changed and life has changed. So the bottom line is, like you said, Rich, dude can sit here and say, well, you know what? I did it, and I don't want to do this 6 or 8 year life sentences. Because I'm not going to do it. And you know what? I'm not going to walk down the penitentiary aisle or the corridors and have a meal or Rich want to shank me. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't want to take that punishment. Now, I don't want you to kill yourself that easy. You know what I'm trying to say? Like I don't want that. So if you're gonna die, you're gonna die by rather you die by the hands of the people that you afflicted, because there's no way I can't administer the pain that a loved one lost. That, you know what I'm saying?
No,
Because
you're right.
I can't
You,
administer that pain. I can only
you,
shank you or do whatever I'm gonna do, and then but the feeling and the emotion of you hurt mine, just like you said, Rich. If you can get past me before that trial date, then you want to do that life. Amir, like you said, I want you to push that button, but you don't get to live, and like it's all right. You don't get the chance to put peanut butter in your butt and lick it in the courtroom, because you know what? I don't give a damn about that. You know what I'm saying?
no, and the thing is,
And that's real talk. Where I don't give a fuck.
it is, and it is because emotionally speaking, and obviously I can only speak to it, from the standpoint of having lost my brother to, the vehicular manslaughter, or at least that's what they ended up charging the
Right.
gentleman with. But initially you are like besides yourself, because it's a loved one, it's somebody who you care about, it's somebody who is a major part of your life. Sometimes though, as time goes on, you start to think to yourself, because in the case of my brother, in particular, the guy, killed my brother. He got sentenced. He went to jail for 6 years. He got out and he did the exact same thing again. So
Wow.
obviously, one, he didn't learn anything. Two, this gentleman has a real problem. And to point that Rich has been kind of making throughout the entire talk tonight, sometimes we got to look at people's track record. We got to look at your body of work. And once we, figure out what that body of work looks like, as the great or the late great Angela Maya Lou once said, once somebody tells you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we, sometimes have such a tough time, because we want to forgive, we want to forget, we want to get beyond things, but sometimes things are what they are, and you have to believe that, move in that energy and in that vein, and do your best to get beyond it once you dealt with it from the standpoint of the reality of really what it is. And I know that's not always an easy thing for us to do,
No. And listen, I commend you I know, because I'm sure that still opens up a wound for you. And for those that don't know who Amir Sealy is talking about, for all you basketball aficionados, he's talking about his brother, his homegrown New York City product, our friend Malik Sealy, that used to play professional basketball, and he was killed in a vehicle.
Yeah, that was my dude, man.
Yeah, and so that's Amir Sealy, that's his brother. And what's so funny, but Amir, you have definitely stepped up in so many facets and taken the cause. I don't even know what that did to your family. And one day we'll have a drink and we'll converse about that. And like you said, but to do that, and like I said, the justice system, whether it was good, bad, 6 years, do come out, and like you said, it didn't go back and do it again. Like, oh my God, okay. You know what I'm saying? Okay, like you don't get it. You need to get it another way. You know what I'm saying? You need to get it another way.
You mean dude only did 6 years for that shit?
He did 6 years for it. And like I said, he came out and He ended up killing somebody else again, and apparently his blood alcohol level was like
Crazy.
beyond what you call it. But again, like I said, like you gentlemen are saying, where's the remorse? Obviously, where's the rehab? Where's the getting to the root of the problem? Because obviously, this gentleman drinks hard and long enough to lose any sense of anything. Because
Yeah.
most
Right.
people would say, after you've gotten to a certain point, driving is definitely out. Do you understand? Like I'm sure the three of us have had moments where we drunk and you couldn't walk home. You're like, look, I don't even think I'm gonna be able to walk home. So
Come on.
let alone get behind the wheel of a car or something like that. And so you
Absolutely.
just start wondering to yourself, like, what's where's the
The compass, the moral
yeah,
compass.
and where's the gear? Exactly, Bill. I couldn't think of the words, but
No.
where is that?
Yeah.
Because that just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, really? Like, dude, you didn't learn nothing in 6 years? I would like to believe that anytime we've made any mistakes, technically speaking, hopefully you've learned something from them. Good, bad, and different, but you
Yeah.
learned something.
Yeah.
Jeez,
Well,
And,
my man Kev's not here today, right, Mr. Stats? But I think statistically,
yeah,
you could probably say that more people have been killed through vehicular homicide than gun violence,
mm. And that you
because
could be
people
absolutely
get
right.
behind the wheel. My brother died the same way. He was going to work, and somebody drove down the ramp the wrong way, intoxicated, killed him instantly. You know,
Same
so
thing happened to Malik. Same thing to Malik.
I feel your energy, but in that case, both parties died. You know,
Wow, wow, wow.
but alcohol is a sociably acceptable drug, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Which is on the scale of addictive drugs, alcohol is number two, nicotine is number one, and
Right.
nicotine related diseases kills more people than all illegal drugs, fires, homicides, and AIDS combined. And alcohol is a distant number two,
Yeah.
which are both legal,
Yeah.
which are both socially
Yeah.
acceptable. If you watch any TV show, you see people, well, now they don't do it as much on TV shows, but movies they do. But TV shows still offer you a drink. In every scene that somebody enters the room, somebody's getting offered a drink.
yeah,
You know, you got bar scenes in every movie where people get knocked down, dragged out drunk. I mean, you go to college to
Yeah.
learn how to drink. You know,
You do. You do.
you go to college to learn how to
You
get
do.
high. Period. You know, that's where
Yeah.
you really learn how to, get inebriated and all that shit. But this is socially
Yeah.
acceptable to mainstream society. So when
yeah,
people get caught up in situations where they commit an act of, uh, um, I don't even know how to classify that kind of violence, right? That it's looked at as a mistake and oh, he deserves another chance. But to drive around in a car made of steel that moves sometimes at the speed of light, that you are controlling a vehicle that could possibly end not a life, lives,
yes,
right? So, how do we police that? How do we make sure that the person that's behind that weapon is acting responsibly?
Yeah. That's a big point. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-hosts, Richard Williams and Amir Sealy. Let me just ask you guys another question. Uh, it says gate guards pay off. The MTA is sending armed guards into the subways to stop fare beating and says the move is already saving the money. The agency contracted a private security firm to provide the armed personnel at the Merrill Wyckoff station on the Brooklyn Queens line since before summer, officials revealed Tuesday. The MTA is now netting about $100,000 a month in additional revenue thanks to the presence of the guards, who just stand by the vending machines and don't make arrests. MTA safety official Robert Deal told authorities board members at a meeting. Armed guards have since been placed in the nearby Halsey Street stations in Brooklyn too, official says. The agency also decided to use unarmed remember that word, unarmed guards to block emergency exits and try to thaw scoffers at 12 other stations, officials said. I'm sure they probably got punched in their mouth after that. After discussion, we decided let's introduce some unarmed guards at the gate. Yeah, okay, Deal said. Once that gate is open, it's like Black Friday at Macy's. Yo, come on, man. Holding the gate is imperative to stopping half the amount of fare invasion in our stations. What do you think about that?
I think it's
You know,
bullshit.
yeah, it's another one of those things. Like I trust me, I do get it. I think that again, I'm a New Yorker, so been riding subways my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing is, excuse me, to me now, thankfully or unthankfully, they've introduced obviously everybody's ability now to use your debit card or your credit card.
Yeah.
Which I think they should have gotten rid of, the swipe cards eons ago because one, they never seem to work. Two, the booth clerks, even though, there are train stations that still have them, they have no authority to re-up your cards anymore and all this stuff. So I think that it's great that we've moved into a space now where people have other options because the options were limited. And, sometimes you get there, I don't got enough change. All these dumb things that, you had to find yourself doing before. Where now, it's boop, put your card up against the reader.
Hold that thought. I want you to come right back in after I read this.
Okay.
Cop surge cut crime. The city's top subway honcho is pushing back on reports of a crime wave on the rails, saying incidents are down and arrests are up since scores of extra cops flooded the system last month. This is like you talk about, now, cards and debit stuff. MTA Chief Executive Officer John O. Lieber said Monday that although underground felonies have soared 40% through October compared to the same period in 2021, roughly keeping pace with ridership increases, the past 28 days have seen a decrease in such incidents. In the month of November, we actually down 13%, Lieber said, referring to underground felonies on Spectrum News and another one inside City Hall. We actually had a statistically significant reversal of that trend. So that good news, he said. I wish Stats was here to check that out. Go ahead. I mean, you can finish it, and I'll bring Rich on. The crazy shit is that, how do you let crime go up 40% on the subways? We saw it. We all saw it. And you, like you said, I mean, you still ride the trains.
Yes. So I saw it hard body and in real time. Excuse me one second, I'm sorry. I think one of the things that we tend to, not take into consideration, and here's the thing with crime just in general. I find it very, very interesting. I'm sure, you gentlemen have the ability to do like I do and see all kind of fun stuff on the internet and how true it may or may not be. But I know I saw this really wild video, and I forget the country right now, but I remember I saw a video recently where they said that this gentleman had took his laptop to like a cafe, excuse me, and he left it in his cafe, and then he went off and, went about town, moving around, this, that, the third. And whatever this country is, they don't have guns for the police officers, and they said they have, little to no crime, and they also have no murders. The dude left his thing there for had to be over an hour, maybe 2 hours. Came back, his laptop was still sitting in the same space, whatever the case may be. But they said that the penalties are very strict and super high in this particular country. Like I said, I don't remember what country it was. But I only share that to say this. Also, in some of these places around the world, the difference is there's a fairer playing field. Here, the playing field isn't fair. So when you take away programs and things that would allow young people to let off steam in ways that are more beneficial to themselves and to the community, when you take away programs that allow kids to learn. We grew up, like I said, if you go back to school, when we were in school, they had automotive and all kind of skill sets that you could learn very early on, so that by the time you got to adulthood, you can move into those things. You can move into plumbing. You can move into being an electrician. Now that you take all that stuff out of the schools, these kids don't know what to do with themselves. So the crime is up because kids are always wanting to have things. And if you don't have skill sets in order to, or skill sets to put you in a position to then get the things that you want, then unfortunately we start to think of ways to either take it and or supposedly, say that I found it some sort of way and, move under that guise. And I think that it's a shame that that's really where we are as a society. We got to get back to giving kids real options. And if we don't do that, then we're always going to continue to see a bump and a rise in certain things because you don't have the skill set. You don't have outlets. You don't have things that tell you, you know what, you have other ways in order to, be able to support yourself. So I think that we got to address that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Rich, your thoughts? Yo, absolutely.
You look at all of the big companies that get these huge tax breaks that pay no taxes on the premise that they're going to provide thousands of jobs for people, regular people, to work for them that will then pay taxes, as opposed to the company itself paying taxes. On the subway, you have advertisement that people pay big money for millions, not thousands, millions of people every day ride the subway, see billboard signs and posters that the subway system gets paid for hanging advertisement. If you've been to 59th Street, Columbus Circle, you go in the subway, it's a whole fucking restaurant community down there in the fucking subway.
Yeah.
Shopping mall in the subway, right? So there is revenue being generated that they're not talking about on the news, right? The subway should be free. And I'm saying that because the subway system is generating income from taxpayers that go to work and use the subway to get to these low-level paying jobs that then take all of their income through taxes that get sent through the city to pay for municipal services, right?
You breaking it down tonight, baby. You hot. You was
So now, I'm good tonight. So now,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You great money.
Just imagine if the subway system was free and they doubled down on the advertisement fees for the millions of people that get to see the subliminal message to go buy that shit, right? Because look, we can watch Channel 2, Channel 7 for free. Why? Because every commercial that comes on pays for you to be able to watch it for what? Free. Because it's worth money to them for you to see their advertisement because you're going to buy their shit. So they say, you know what? Let that nigga watch that shit for free. So let them niggas ride that shit for free. And stop worrying about somebody trying to get and go to and from committing a crime to get to and from, which the crime is simply they need to get from here to there.
Yeah. Yo, I changed.
So how do you criminalize?
I'm calling you Richie Dimes or Richie Jules because you dropping them tonight. Baby.
How do you criminalize? Tonight, how do you criminalize the ability, the desire to get from A to B, right? And usually it's to get from work to home or from home to school and back, or to go see my girl, but on the way I'm going there, guess what? I saw some shit that I might buy or provide jobs in the subway. And now I'm paying taxes for working in the subway. They say, yo, Rich, you got transferred to Chambers Street. Get on the train, go down there.
Yeah. Yo,
so why do we have to put so much into this whole transit shit? You know, like really, dog, what's causing so much money in the train station that these motherfuckers need to keep asking for more and more and more and more money, threatening that, oh, it's going to collapse in the subway, we won't be able to keep it going. So you telling me you're going to threaten to shut down the vehicle that gets people from work to home, home to work, so they can pay your ass taxes to the city?
Yeah.
So you're going to shut that
Yeah.
off, huh? Or
And
what do
then
we do?
and then
Charge
have
the
the
poor
eliminating
people,
wall.
charge the
Rich,
poor
Rich,
people
hold on.
to get
Rich, they
back
have the
on the
eliminating
subway.
wall and tell us that we're gonna have to raise the fares. Listen, man, we all remember, Rich. I know you do. I do. Amir, I'm sure you do too. We all remember when the token. I mean, listen. Like I said, I still call it a token. It's like you swipe your card. Well, I don't. What do you pay to ride one fare one way, Amir? What
$275 now.
They talking about boosting
270
that shit to 3 something.
$275
Listen,
a ride.
I remember when it was in single numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like it was 75 cents or 50 cents or something like
75
that.
cents.
You know?
30. I remember 35 cents. I remember
Look at that.
25 and 35 cents.
Yeah,
The
See?
because I
35-cent
was a bus
token
pass,
came when it
train
was
pass.
bigger.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
And I
that's
didn't pay
crazy.
that shit then. Yo, I didn't pay that shit then. I used to hop the train. Yo, we had a group of young niggas, right? We used to run around. We used to do this shit. We used to call it soup and tokens.
Uh-huh.
We would stuff the token thing, so if you put your shit in there, it wouldn't go through. And then you get frustrated and
And
break out,
you
and then we
leave.
come back and suck that shit to suck it out.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, pull it out. Exactly. With some bubble gum or all kind of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yo, so I got 2 more topics and we can get out of here tonight. They said waste of time prosecuting. Why brag Nick's 20 plus shoplift rate raps? Okay, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office made a stunning admission Tuesday saying it pursued just 2 of nearly 2 dozen separate cases against a serial shoplifter because it would have been a waste of resources to hit him with all charges. Now, let me read that slow for the people that had time to digest this shit. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office made a stunning admission Tuesday saying it pursued just 2 of nearly 2 dozen separate cases against a serial shoplifter because it would have been a waste of resources to hit him with all charges. Ex-con Wilfredo Ocasio, who remains free despite his November 16th arrest on 23 separate thefts, would only have to serve a minimum of 2 years behind bars under the state law, even if he was charged with and convicted of all the raps, a spokesman for the DA Alvin Bragg noted. But while Bragg's office contended that limiting the charges spared staff what it deemed to be unnecessary legal work, legal
They
experts
coming for you, Bill. They coming for you.
Ocasio, 44, with all 23 of the alleged thefts could have had ramifications beyond jail time for the repeat offender. It would be a waste of resources in the sense that it couldn't result in any more jail time. Really? But I'm saying really, but jail time is not only the consequence of a criminal conviction, said defense attorney Samuel Crowe, a former prosecutor and adjunct professor at Bloomberg Field College. I don't even want to read no more. Anyone of y'all can go first. I don't know what the hell to say about this. I mean, listen, I'm gonna reach out to get Alvin back on this show because he's been here before several times, and he got this. Listen. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You never. I mean, shoplifting is obviously it is a crime. It is, something. But here's what's so weird about it. In theory, and this goes for so many of these major brands, the Walmarts, the BJs, the whoever's, the whatevers. If you ever go into those stores, the pricing will be one thing on one day, and then as time goes on, it slowly comes down to practically nothing. Mm-hmm. So at some point, a dope t-shirt or a dope shirt that the 3 of us may like Bill, you might get it when it first comes out. You paid full price.
Yeah,
Richard gets it 2 months later. It's discounted. And by the time I get it, it's on the clearance rack, and I got it for $4.
absolutely.
But it's the same
Yeah,
shirt.
exactly. Yep.
It's the same shirt. So I think that part of the issue here is, again, we have more than enough, and I don't want to say surplus, but we obviously have more than enough. And some of these brands, the hit that they take and the tax write-offs that they get, like, really, what are we talking about? I've heard through the grapevine, even when you look at whether it's our supermarkets, it's our restaurants, here throughout our city, at night, what do you do with all the food that really doesn't get prepared, or that did get prepared, but you didn't sell it? And you understand what I'm saying? So, like, you turn around, you might put it in the garbage or whatever the case may be, to the point that we were talking about a little earlier about the homeless, or people who might find themselves in that position. So now you got this whole group of people who, for whatever reason, can't get a good meal because we mad because you went to the steakhouse and you got the meal for $79. And this person in the alleyway getting it for free. To me, it all works out. I think we can't overthink it. We can't go so crazy when it comes to these kinds of things, because that's the checks and balances of this weird world that we live in. We have people who seemingly have too much, and then we have people who seemingly have nothing at all. So some kind of way that the world, the balances or the checks and balances have to even themselves out. And I just feel like sometimes that's a process that's used to give us some balance.
Absolutely. Rich? Go ahead, Minister Rich. You've been keeping it tonight, brother.
We both listen.
Everybody been.
We both come from the hood. We all come from the hood, right? Now, how many times did you wait for Ray to come uptown with all of that shit in the trunk? So, yo, I got this, I got that, and you cop that shit, right?
Yeah.
Let me say this to you, bro. When I used to work with Entertainers Basketball, the Rucker League, and our sponsor was Reebok at the time. So Reebok was based in Massachusetts. They had a factory there where they would design the different sneakers. So we went out there and they showed us how they make these sneakers and all of that. And then it was discussed what it cost to actually make a sneaker, right? And it was peanuts compared to what they were charging for it, right? So now you got all of these different stores, like take Marshall's, for instance, the TJ Maxx. I buy my shoes out of there. I can get a pair of Kohans inside of Marshall's for like $50, $60. That same shoe, if I go to Kohan, they want $300-$400. That same shoe.
Right.
So what happened in between that this shoe now is only worth $60 for you to sell it to me and still make a profit, right?
Right.
So honestly, the companies that are selling products and merchandise are already have you paying for stolen items, whether they're stolen or not, right? Yeah. So you already paying for it up front. So I'm like, that's reparations. So Ray and Jimmy and all them and Lulu that went in there and did their thing and came out and sold us that shit that they wanted all that money for short money. They should be prosecuted.
Yo, listen, let me just say this.
But one more thing, Bill, before I finish. One more thing. Statistically, Kevin's not here for facts, so I can say this shit, right? Statistically, well-off white people shoplift way more than poor people.
That part.
All right.
Not because they need it, because they can do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And not be prosecuted.
Yeah.
And listen, not be prosecuted.
Yeah, we're gonna throw that at Stats when he come back, when he get his ass back with a little ear infection. Shout out to
his
Kevin.
Ass ain't coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
He ain't coming back. I don't want none of this smoke.
No. And you know what's so funny? Because I think what you said is so true. and just in lieu of boosting used to be an art. Now they just go in the store and they just vandalize and just thug it out. Now you as they would say, you done add some shame to the game. You know what I'm saying? Boosting was an art. If anybody knows how to boost, you know,
it's
like
you
art.
said,
It's an
really
art.
was.
You had to
Yo,
practice
listen,
it.
the LGB community had it on smash. They would go downtown and come uptown with fur coats, all the latest fashion design shit.
Open it up. Listen. Anybody know some real boosters? I've been taught. I've never participated. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Be careful what you say.
How to boost?
Be careful what you say, bro.
It's coming. I said I've never participated. You know what I'm saying?
Don't let the car make a U-turn.
Listen.
Circle the block.
Exactly. Yo, everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. Shout out to everybody that's chiming in. Yo, Rich, they were saying, everybody saying you was dropping jewels. I see you, Mark. What's up, niece Dana in the building? So this is going to be our last topic. And we might, Rich, you and I might have to give Stats a little props on this. He was saying when we talked about the insurrection January 6th, we was like, yo, prosecute this. And, Stats was like, they have to do their investigations. They have to do this and do that and all that shit, right? It was like, yo, okay, knock it off. So the militia bigwig is guilty of sedition. And he gets, what does he get? With Rhodes, the founder of the far right organization, the Oath Keepers. The Oath Keepers. Yeah. Ain't that some shit? What a name. The Oath Keepers was convicted of seditious conspiracy on Tuesday. Sedition for attempting to overturn the 2020 presidential election results by organizing the January 6th Capitol riot. Rhodes, a Texas native, was found guilty of the rarely used Civil War era charge by a Washington, D.C. jury after 3 days of deliberation following a nearly 2-month-long trial. He was acquitted of 2 other conspiracy charges. Prosecutors said Rhodes began planning an armed insurrection shortly after President Biden won the election to stop the transfer of power and keep former President Donald Trump in the White House. Rhodes, once a promising Yale, don't lose my space now, law school graduate, planned to bring ammunition and firearms to Washington and organize training for fellow rioters to learn preliminary paramilitary combat tactics, according to the. Yeah, I don't even read anymore. And then, so your man Mitch ditching Donald, he says, senior Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell suggested Tuesday that former President Donald Trump's dinner last week with an outspoken anti-Semite and white supremacist has disqualified him from holding future office. First, let me say that there is no room in the Republican Party for anti-Semitism or white supremacy, McDonald told reporters at Capitol Hill of the 76-year-old Trump's Mar-a-Lago with Jew-hating hip-hop star Kanye West, Kanye West and white nationalist Nicholas Fuentes. Anyone meeting with people advocating that point of view, in my judgment, are highly unlikely to ever be elected president of the United States, McDonald added, before throwing in a jab at Trump's nascent 2024 House run. And that's what may apply to all of the leaders in the party who will be seeking office. Fellas, what's your thoughts on that, brother? Anyone, you can go first. Pick one.
I think, first of all, the resurrection, insurrection, whatever the hell it was, is just indicative of how jacked up and broken our systems are here in the United States. And it is also indicative of, unfortunately, how, as you stated, a Yale student who obviously studied, I'm sure, the Constitution and knows the law, technically speaking, they know what they were doing, because once you know how to apply the law, then you know what things to do and how to do them so that you get the outcome that you're looking for. So that's the first thing.
Facts.
The second thing with good old 45 Kanye and whoever this kid is or whoever this person is,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you almost I can't say you. I know me. This is why I don't watch the news at all. I know people be like, man, what do you mean? I don't watch the news. Because fortunately, unfortunately, is something that, you know, Richard alluded to earlier today. The programming that they do comes in so many different formats. It's not only the stuff that you're seeing on the train, it's the stuff that you're seeing online on the internet. It's the things that they are reporting to you on the news, you know, these news channels, on these, you know, on the various platforms. All these things are doing nothing but one thing, which is unfortunately trying to show you and teach you how to be scared. And the reality of it all is, be scared of what? When you get out here every day, you put your best foot forward, you do everything you can do to take care of yourself and your family. That's all you could do. Will there be some challenges? No question. But you can't let these idiotic people be or make your challenges seemingly that harder. Mitch McConnell and his punk ass and the rest of them suckers that hang out on Capitol Hill. I'm always amazed. I'm always amazed at these dudes who are the moral whatever compass or whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
Sir, you've served in the Senate long enough for you to have stepped down several times over and allowed some other people to then, you know, figure out what they need to do or how we need to move forward. Yet you won't do that. All you keep doing is sitting up there with your boys, and y'all keep, you know, trying to govern over, you know, what you think the good old days were or whatever those days were, seemingly in your mind, and when this supposed country was great, according to y'all.
Absolutely.
So it just lends credence to, again, a bunch of old scary people, not necessarily melanated, who sit around and are afraid to say to themselves, really, what would we do if we didn't have people of color? What would this place look like? End of story for me. I know what it would look like. Absolutely. And I know how drab it would be, and so do they. So I like it. Yeah. That's why I said I can't feed into their foolishness, you know?
Absolutely. Yo, you know, everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-hosts, Amir Steely and Richard Williams. Let me tell you something, Rich. Our Knicks is hanging in there, bro. They holding on a little something, and Brooklyn's playing tonight too. Brooklyn makes it. We might have to come back one day and do a little sports segment on stuff like that. I just want to read some comments real quick. Vivian said, "I heard that as well. White folks steal more because they are not being watched. Hence, they know they can, and most often will get away with it." Mark said, "I can with." He said, "I can. This was another fire show." Absolutely. He also says, "Bill, let me say this. These people are waiting for 2024. The Oath Keepers, 3% Nation, Proud Boys, and others need jail time for their acts." Absolutely. Colin said, "And also allow them to live in the subway system since it's free." Absolutely. Rich, you got something you want to say before you?
Yeah.
On that?
No. I got something I want to say about, you know, the Donald. The Donald and the Republican Party. Well, you know, I was watching this shit that Dave Chappelle had posted on Facebook, where he was talking about, you know, how people are saying, "Oh, Donald Trump is finished," and, you know, that he's a fool, a buffoon, and all this, right? Now, Donald Trump, when he ran for president, he got on there, and Hillary Clinton said, "Oh, he don't pay no taxes," and the moderator said, "Why don't you pay Donald taxes, Donald?" Donald says, "Because I don't have to, because I'm smart." And he said, "What the fuck you mean you smart?" He said, "Tax laws are written for people like me to not pay them."
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, why don't you do this?" He said, "I'll pay taxes when you change the tax laws."
He sure
but
did.
You're not going to do that because the people that support you are rich like me. Yeah. And they're not going to allow you to change the tax laws.
He just he put it out there in the universe, yo.
So everybody keeps coming at this dude Donald Trump for being this racist and all that. These motherfuckers live in our society from day one. It's refreshing to me for a motherfucker to reveal himself to me instead of act like he's not what he is. You know, look at all of the damage that Bill Clinton caused as president to black people. You know,
Mhm.
passing these laws that incarcerated us through this so-called drug war and all that shit. You know, he did a lot of damage. You know, politicians in general, there's only two things that are important to them, that are most important to them. The first one is getting elected. The second one is get reelected.
Mhm.
Motherfuckers want to die in office for a job that supposedly doesn't pay that much, but it has an intoxicating power to it that you are in a position to move pieces around. Most politicians, when they leave office, they go into being lobbyists. Look at not Mitch McConnell, John Boehner,
Yeah, yeah,
staunch believer against marijuana and all of that shit. What is he now? He was the first one out the gate because he knew that law was going to pass and allow this certain states to sell marijuana. He's the
yeah,
spokesperson for that shit.
yep.
You know,
He'd be like,
what's
"Hi."
legal today is illegal tomorrow, and vice versa. Right? There's
Yeah.
money
Uh-huh.
in chaos. There's going to always be money in chaos, and people that are in position to cause and benefit from chaos also want to be on the other end to be that side and control both narratives. They cause it and they want to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the middle of all of that, there's us that
Yep.
worry about, oh, you know, I got to sell this weed. I can't let the cops catch me. Now I can sell weed, right? But in a minute, I won't be able to sell weed because if I don't have my license, they're gonna lock my ass back up.
Right,
But
right,
I
right.
don't give a fuck because they ain't prosecuting this shit. You know, but it's smoke and mirrors. We so busy worrying about this shit over here and that shit over there that we not really looking at what's going on around us. Remember, there was a time where you could walk down 8th Avenue, 7th Avenue, Lenox Avenue, and there was a bar on every corner. Literally, there was a bar on every
Hmm.
corner on 8th Avenue from 154th Street all the way down to 125th Street.
We
A
had some of the best
bar
dive
on
bars. We had some of the
every
best dive bars.
corner.
Yeah.
Now, these bars have been taken away, and you know what's in its place now? Pharmacies.
Right, 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 right,
Every
right.
fucking corner you go to now, there's a new pharmacy popping up because we got opioids, painkillers. Motherfuckers have to medicate for all of the shit that they throwing at us. And we on the low level choking each other trying to figure out which one of us is lower than the other low. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
who's
yeah.
lower than us? No, the fucking Mexicans is lower than us. Fuck that. You know, fuck them motherfuckers. Leave them on the border. Don't let them come here and take what we got. White people saying that about us. We saying that about Mexicans. Mexicans going back over the border. They said, fuck this shit. We some hardworking motherfuckers. These niggas is bugging out of here.
Yeah, yeah. They like to argue too much. We just want to work. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But yo, dog, man, it's just
yeah.
so much shit going on out here, man. I don't know what to tell you, man. You know, all I can
Well,
tell you,
you
man,
done
is
dropped a
that
lot of jewels tonight, brother. You done dropped a lot of jewels
we
tonight,
gotta
brother.
stop paying so much attention to what other people say is right or wrong. They talking about Kanye. They talking about Kyrie. They talking about Donald Trump. They talking about these people being racist. The same people that are calling them racist are racist themselves, right? Now, a lot of times we don't think about what was actually done or said. And a lot of times these things are just things that were repeated by the so-called Jewish community, but you can't say it. Like we can call each other nigga, right? But the minute a white man come in and start getting in that conversation, hold up, nigga, You can't say that.
Yeah.
That's how Jewish people feel.
Yeah.
You can't come in and say shit about no Jew, even if it's right, because they said it. Because a lot of this shit that Farrakhan says and all of these things that people are saying, they label it as anti-Semitism because you're not a Jew. They
Well,
say you're not a Jew.
they also label as that because that's also their way of being able to then demonize you. They
Yeah,
changed the meaning of the word anti-Semitism for that specific reason alone. And
anti-Semitism is a weapon to use against people that when
that's
Jewish people get caught up in their bullshit, they
they
and you
that
and you say it, you're an
mhm.
anti-Semite. So that's the
Yeah.
weapon to get you to back off. You know?
So with that having been said, that's really, again, this is why it's imperative to, know your uh, words,
Your
know that words have
history.
power, know your
No, you got to know
history,
your history, brother, because
and
these
and
these so-called Jews that came from um, uh, the German and the Russian and all of these European Jewish people are converts. They converted to the religion of Judaism, right?
thank you,
Where the
thank you.
black man is the original Jew, right? And they are trying to block people of color that are original Jews from benefiting of living in Jerusalem. They like, nah, y'all ain't Jews.
Yet they move into every neighborhood and take over like locusts.
But listen, if you look at what they're doing to the Palestinians over there, now, if they just allow that whole region to have democracy, right, and have free elections with everyone that lives there, the Jewish people would have a problem because there are more Palestinians than Jewish people. And they would vote them out of office. So they're not going to let that happen. Anybody that's went and visited over there, they will tell you the horror stories of how Palestinians are being treated over there. But if you talk about that, guess what you are? An anti-Semite. Whatever the hell that
Yeah,
means.
yeah.
Because I'm sick of hearing it.
And we can pick,
What do you call
yeah.
anti-black people? What do you call that? Give a name to that. If you've been doing what the shit that they've done to us, we should have a whole crazy name for this. Anybody that says something about a black man,
Yeah.
but
Unbelievable.
we don't.
And let's pick that up next Wednesday. Amir, rock with us out till the 14th, brother, if you can. We got 2 more Wednesdays, I think.
Okay.
Rich, it's always good to see you
Yeah, we
back,
got
brother.
we got to get off because we done fuck with Bill's Jewish community. They're gonna cut this shit off in a minute.
Listen. Yeah, brother. Listen, we
Hey,
can
listen,
chop it
brother,
up
shalom,
more.
shalom, shalom.
Listen. I was trying to give you some guys some love. Listen, next week we could please say what you feel, because the bottom line is, historically, if you know what you're talking about, then it's some place where you could tell somebody to go read it. And like you said, Malcolm has said it, Farrakhan has said it, Ye, Kyrie has said it, you
Yeah.
just said it. Understanding the historical aspect of this, it's a whole different concept. Listen, like you said, I don't use the N word, but that's the only thing we got
Anymore.
hold on. But I'm just saying that's the only thing that we have to claim. But when somebody talks about people of color, the bottom line is they don't get like they just showed a picture on Facebook and social media of Jerry Jones blocking somebody going into
Yeah, that was back in
right.
the day. Mm-hmm.
And then they made a joke out of it, and they said, well, he needs to meet with the black leaders and
Black
stuff.
Caucus, and yeah.
But bottom line is nobody's pressing Jimmy Jones on that, or Jerry Jones or whatever the fuck his name is. Nobody's pressing him. You know what I'm saying? And listen, he told the black players, you better not kneel down for the national anthem. So he ain't changed too many colors and spikes. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's cool and laughing and joking. I remember this all the time with my former law enforcement friends. Billy is he was cool until he started talking about some politics and some black power stuff. Then it was like I changed. I was like, I never you never we never talked about politics and my cause for my people. So I never changed. You just never asked and you never cared. So that's the difference in where we move and how we move in certain things. But once you speak out, oh, something's wrong. You changed. I ain't changed. It just listen. But sometimes you have to be prepared for that smoke. If you're not ready for that smoke, then you're gonna go against that power. And until people, we as people, we're not forming Voltron. We're corner lawyers and barroom politicians. We're not ready to do shit like that. So I mean, what we're here, real talk. We say what say what it is real, and it is what it is. Everybody takes the ownership of their own thing. Amir, we about to get out of here. Unless you got some closing marks, you can say
Hey,
that.
no, yo, I got to say something to Amir before we close out, man.
Yes, sir.
Amir, I want to show you something, right? I got to turn the camera around.
Wow. Wow.
That's the original Rucker plaque
Wow.
that hung on the fence.
And wow.
And
Wow. Wow.
and I own this plaque, right?
Uh-huh.
And I gather signatures of all of the legends, right? Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get your brother's signature on here, before he passed. But I got everybody from Dr. J to Nate Archibald to
Nice.
Earl Monroe, Clyde Frazier, you
Nice.
know, and I would be honored if at some point we hook up and you could sign in honor your brother, you know.
That would be my pleasure. That would be my pleasure, Rich. No problem. We'll
All
work it
right.
out, figure out how to get that done.
Yeah.
It's not a
You
problem.
get my information from
From
Babyface up
the-
there.
okay.
Yo,
And
where's my girl Tony, man?
Tony, she downstairs doing something. Tony,
All right.
I would tell
But
Tony you said hi.
again, my brother, I look forward to meeting up with
Yes.
you at some point, you know,
Yes.
to
For
to to,
sure.
to get that in because his name deserves to be there.
Absolutely, real
All
talk.
right.
That's real talk.
No question. No question.
So
I'll be
Amir, give us some love and positive affirmation, unless you have anything else you want to say, and then Rich close us out, and then I'll finish it on the summation. You know,
well. First and foremost, I mean, we in the fourth quarter, we're the tail end of the year. So I just hope and pray that most of the people who have hung in there and shared their opinions and been a part of your show and a part of your journey this year, y'all continue to do so. Continue to find the things that matter to you and make your presence felt in those areas. And more important than anything, take stock of self. Do anything and everything you need to do to be and put forth the best version of you the world has ever seen. We need that more so now than any other time that we've ever needed in this world. This is the time. This is the time of year, but every time of the year is technically the time of year for you to take stock of self and to put forth your best foot forward. So I just encourage everybody: love on each other, love on your friends and family, those that love you back, and just make sure that it's all coming from the heart. Y'all
yeah,
stop worrying about who's paying attention to you, who's not paying attention to you. You pay attention to yourself. You know that you're great. That's all you need to know.
absolutely. Rich,
Hey, he said a mouthful right there, bro. You know, we just need to start to work where we are and do what we can to make a difference in the society around you. You know, an individual can make change. You might not be able to change everything, but you could change something. You know, but you got to always respect another person's beliefs and desires to do what they want to do and not impose your will on them as long as you're not hurting nobody. You know,
right?
if I'm not hurting you, you're not hurting me, we should be able to live together, right?
Absolutely,
So let's
absolutely.
think about what other people are pumping us up to do and gassing us up to do because some others are different than you. When somebody says to me, "Oh, I don't see color," when a motherfucker says that to me, I run. Why don't you see my color? Because you don't want to.
Right,
Why
right.
can't you just accept me for who I am and I accept you for who you are without
Absolutely.
it being a problem? But you
Absolutely.
rather not see me, and that's the means of you saying, you fair? You nigga, you crazy. So
Absolutely.
with that, I'm left with the two C's, a chance of the choice. You know,
Absolutely. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. That's a Richard Williams. That's a Mia Silly. And I will say this, listen, if you can't be part of the solution, then don't be part of the problem. The one thing in life, listen, like Rich and Amir had just said so eloquently, what are you going to do? Basically, it comes down to what are you going to do? Stop worrying about what you can change. And if you're going to try to change it, then put your feet, both feet into it. You know what I'm saying? And you out here doing cuff it challenges. How about doing this to make the world some better challenges? You know what I'm saying? Let me hear you dance to that shit. You know what I'm saying? That's some real talk. And listen, it's real talk, and we're forced to the moment. We out of here. We'll see these guys next Wednesday. I'll see you Monday. I appreciate you all. Share it, like it, subscribe to it. I'm gonna share it again on their page and on inside Facebook. I appreciate you all. We out of here, everybody. Talk to you in a minute. Peace.
peace.
Peace.